if the things he said were that.
Check your ballots. You may have voted for the candidate that USG's Judicial Council just disqualified from the race.
Washing up along the coast from Malibu to Redondo Beach, debris from last month's wildfires has beachgoers concerned.
And in the aftermath of the wildfires, reporter Peyton May joins a student to see what's left of the neighborhood where she grew up.
Annenberg TV News is next.
The USG race has been far from typical this year. Hi, I'm Rose-Marquze.
And I'm Marina Knapik. USG senatorial candidate Mason Yonover has been disqualified from the race for his use of crude language on social media.
Very, that was a proud moment for me. I always wanted to be obscene, I guess. Originally it was pushing back against, all these candidates who make these kind of outrageous promises that they obviously can't do, because, the other main point of this campaign is that USG doesn't actually do anything and nobody gives a shit about USG.
Yonover's Instagram campaign revealed atypical goals. Featured on his page were a promise to legalize smoking on campus and a bid to invest USG's budget into sports betting. Current USG senators weighed in on his campaign.
You run as a joke, you really aren't allowing students to see the work that USG does, and then just allow students to feel into that narrative that nobody cares about USG. It just ultimately comes down to professionalism and the way that you handle issues that come about.
It's definitely not realistic, and it's definitely not what the vibes of students want. Obviously, we have much more bigger issues. Let's focus on finding ways on why USC is continuing to cut scholarships and continuing to cut financial aid support for students while also raising costs. Let's focus on that instead of unrealistic putting beers in water fountain.
What do other students think? A few Trojans shared their thoughts on Yonover's disqualification.
If the things he said were that heinous, then I guess it deems proper to have them not on the Senate for a school with as high prestige as USC.
In some ways a bit unfair to be disqualified, because although the agenda might seem a joke, it might also seem important to some students.
And hopefully next time he runs again and, does it in the proper way that the school wants to.
While Yonover awaits an appeal for the ruling, preliminary election results will be announced tomorrow evening at the USG Senate meeting.
You may notice the sand at Santa Monica Beach is looking darker than usual. Experts say that's because debris from last month's wildfire is washing ashore. Beachgoers are used to the sandy white beaches, but now they're soaking up the sun further away from the shore as they try to avoid the hazardous waste. There are chunks of wood, nails sticking out, twisted metal, and piles of ash. The debris stretches about 30 miles from Malibu to Redondo Beach. That area includes Santa Monica, State Beach, Dockweiler, Will Rogers State Beach, and Topanga Lagoon.
I didn't even expect to see any remains of a fire.
There's a little bit of driftwood and a little bit of just kind of debris a little bit closer to the shore.
Experts are advising beachgoers to be cautious. It's unclear how long the cleanup will take.
Wildfires devastated several communities last month, affecting many in the Trojan family. Reporter Peyton May is here with one USC student's story.
3 weeks after a wildfire devastated the Pacific Palisades community, USC junior Avni Desai was finally allowed to return back. I joined her on this emotional journey home. Security was tight, and only residents were allowed back. Avni Desai had no idea what to expect as she made her way toward the Pacific Palisades, her home for 16 years.
So this is my high school. This is insane. The baseball field was burned down, the classes behind it. I had classes in those buildings. And then this is the theater. This was the community theater. It doesn't feel real, and it's so apocalyptic. It's just hard to wrap my head around the whole thing.
Avni's house didn't burn down, but it will be years before her family can move back in. Compared to her friends, she considers herself lucky.
My best friend Arden down the street, her house is gone. My friend Jules, Troy, their houses are gone. You forget that you can't come back here. And so I feel like it hasn't hit me yet that I won't ever be able to come back here, at least not for a really long time.
The 23,000-acre fire destroyed over 6,000 structures in this tight-knit community. Avani knew many of them like the back of her hand.
This was like an Indian restaurant, Chase Bank. We used to like sneak out of her house and like go run around. Like, this is her dad's house, and like I've just always like spent so much time here.
The Palisades were home to her childhood memories. For many residents, that's all they have left.
You never think that it would happen to like a place that like you lived in, or like a place that like your friends grew up in. So you just like see like all this wreckage and you're just like, this doesn't feel real.
I think that this place is such a special little pocket of LA with so much love and luck. And so I really do want to come back, and I hope that it's restored the way that it used to be.
Love and luck. A good place to start. For Idelburg Media, I'm Peyton May.
And Peyton joins us live at the desk. Thank you for being here. What was it like being so up close to all of the devastation?
It was honestly really surreal. I know that we had all seen visuals of the fires while they were going on, but being able to go back there, especially with Avani, this was the first time that she had been home. It really was a jarring sight to see, and just really emotional driving through that and seeing the wreckage firsthand.
Yeah. And are there any updates with Avani or her family? How are they doing?
Honestly, not really. As you could see in the video, her home is still standing, which is great, but it will be a very long time before she's able to move back in. Her parents have since moved, and they're staying with family friends across the country. Avani is still at school. She's attending classes, which is great, but I think they're kind of in limbo until they have more information about what happens next with that debris removal and how the community can start to rebuild.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And tomorrow we'll continue our series Lost in the Fires with a story about a Thornton music professor who lost her home and pianos in the Eaton fire.
Federal workers are bracing for more job cuts. Political reporter Lindsay Augustine has the story.
Thanks, Marina. Some federal workers are facing a midnight deadline to respond to an email that asks them to list what work they did last week. President Trump says if they don't comply, they'll be fired. Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, sent the emails out over the weekend. The group has been firing thousands of federal employees. But some agencies told their workers today not to respond, and unions for federal workers have filed a lawsuit.
He's asking, what did you do last week? And his agency, doesn't even have the authority to ask his own agency what they did last week, apparently. The level of disregard that they have and respect they have, not only for American workers and their families, but also just for our Constitution and the rule of law.
Despite the pushback, President Trump is telling Musk to be more aggressive in downsizing the federal workforce.
The U.S. voted against a United Nations resolution to condemn Russia for its war against Ukraine. This vote signals a sudden shift away from longtime European allies. The U.S. joined nations including Russia, North Korea, and Israel in this historic vote. The U.S. also urged Ukraine to end the war without acknowledging Russia's involvement, which was denied by the UN. This is another example of increasing tensions between President Trump and Zelensky.
Mr. President, that is why the United States opposed putting forward another resolution, and that is why we cannot support Ukraine's resolution, and we urge its withdrawal in favor of a strong statement committing us to end the war and work towards a lasting peace.
While this vote deepened the divide between the U.S. and Europe, President Trump is meeting with the President of France and the British Prime Minister this week to discuss how to end the war in Ukraine.
The Christian Democratic Union Party is projected to win this year's German elections. Friedrich Merz is the leader of the CDU and heir apparent to the German chancellorship. He called out U.S. President Donald Trump for statements he made last week, accusing the German government of right-wing censorship. At a roundtable last night, Merz blasted the White House for election, quote, intervention, which he equated to Russia's foreign election interference. The far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, will become the country's second largest party. The AfD doubled its support in just 4 years, and it also benefited from a bump in the polls following an endorsement from tech billionaire Elon Musk. Musk's political endorsements are not only prompting sharp criticism, they're also raising questions about the role of big tech in future elections. And a measles outbreak in Texas has spread to New Mexico. The surge comes 25 years after the disease was eliminated in the United States. There is no cure for the highly infectious illness, but there is a widely implemented vaccine. The outbreak has now stretched into the bordering Lea County in New Mexico. A Southern California doctor warns against the dangers of exposure.
It spreads rather explosively. It's one of the most infectious viruses we know.
Symptoms of the measles include a high fever, cough, and rash. One USC doctor is confident that LA's high vaccination rate will keep the illness at bay locally.
The places that are most at risk are the places that have low vaccine uptake among their population. We have pretty good vaccine uptake among our population here.
New cases are popping up across the Southwest. Cases in Northwest Texas recently surged to nearly 100.
And changes are coming to Starbucks under its new CEO. Today, the company announced that over 1,000 corporate workers will be laid off. The layoffs will not affect employees at local stores. Starbucks is restructuring the company, hoping to boost sales after a 2% drop in 2024. One local Starbucks employee is optimistic.
I can understand why these changes were made, and a lot of the changes have to do with also making our job easier, which I do appreciate to a certain extent. I have no idea. I don't even have a good guess about where things are going to go. I'm hopeful, just because I like the idea of creating a third place. So I just hope we can successfully achieve that.
Among the cuts could be your favorite Starbucks drinks and pastries. This plan also includes eliminating 30% of its current menu. Are you Team Wicked or Conclave? The SAG Awards may have predicted this year's Oscar wins.
And childhood, technology, and feminism. You won't want to miss the new Roski exhibits opening this week.
I'm Amy Grant. There was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. Heart disease is America's #1 killer. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Learn more at helpheart.org.
As a mom, I want my kids' lives to be filled with joy and possibility. And I want that for every kid. That's why I support No Kid Hungry. They work in schools and communities to make sure every kid gets the healthy meals they need. Please join me in supporting No Kid Hungry for all kids.
Thank you!
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life. To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
The Oscars are less than a week away. Yesterday, the Screen Actors Guild Awards were given out. It's a major predictor for the acting Oscar categories. Among the winners were Conclave for Best Ensemble, Timothée Chalamet for Best Actor, and Demi Moore for Best Actress Award. Some USC students felt their favorite movies were overlooked.
I think that Wicked and Dune Part 2 are getting a little too much hype.
I hope Conclave does well, but I know it's probably boring to most people who watched it, but I hope it does well.
I'm hoping Emilia Perez dies. I want to see that flop at the Oscars.
But I do hope that Nosferatu wins for Best Cinematography because it was really, really beautiful to watch. And I hope Wicked takes.
The big winners will finally be announced during the Oscars ceremony next week. It will be held on Sunday, March 2nd at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood.
This week's USC artists are showcasing their art at Roski's Epic exhibition. The artworks discuss themes such as childhood, family, and feminism. Joyce Lee's exhibit, Play Life, is a colorful display of the flow of time. She made sure to invoke nostalgia in anyone who comes across this artwork.
It's really capturing what childhood feels like, predisposed to technology, and then introducing it, and just trying to feel out the gentle rhythms of childhood you would feel before you'd be guided by time and routine.
Serena Vale's Cycles uses patterns and fabrics to display the innocence of childhood with a hint of her personal experiences.
And as you look closer, you begin to realize that it's all of these archives from my family history on one side representing innocence, and on the other side it's a lot of my life experiences.
The Roski exhibit will remain open until March 4th at the Gail and Ed Roski Gallery. Excuse me. Let's send it over to Amy with the weather for this week. Amy, what's the weather looking like?
All right, today definitely shows what sunny SoCal truly means, so let's check out the weather for today. So currently we're at 64 degrees with 62% humidity, so the sun is definitely out and shining. So let's check out how we are doing for the rest of the week. All right, so from Tuesday through Saturday we see pure sunshine. Friday we have a peak of 84, so it is definitely a great intro into the weekend, and just looking forward to whole tons of time spending outside and being with family and friends. So that is all for weather today. Let's toss it over to sports.
Well, USC baseball is finally defeated after a hot start. Major League Soccer is back, and in the opening weekend, SoCal stole the headlines. And women's basketball soars on senior night. All that and more next on ATVN Sports.
There are places in this world where hope is a rare and precious gift. But in those places, there exist ships of mercy, driven by the hearts and hands of volunteers who believe in something bigger than themselves. Working together, they found their purpose, serving those with the greatest need, and discovering what it means to give their all. To see how you can change lives, visit mercyships.org today.
One more time before you wake up in the wild.
Our natural world needs us now. Step by step, side by side, together, we can find a way to ensure that all life on Earth can thrive. To learn more about how you can help protect and conserve nature, visit nature.org.
When you hear the words nonprofit organization, what comes to mind? Is it a place your dog called home before finding you? Is it an organization that supports accessibility or fights for our most basic needs? It's impossible to show all the ways nonprofit organizations make a difference in our world. But it's not impossible to be part of it. Reach out to a nonprofit organization that inspires you today to find how you can help make the world a better place.
Welcome back to ATVN Sports. I'm one of your Monday hosts for the semester, Ben Cohen.
And I'm Mia Nunez. The USC women's basketball team defeated number 25 Illinois last night, 76-66, in the first ever meeting between the schools. USC looked like they were going to run off with a win on senior night until Illinois took the lead during the third quarter. Seniors Kiki Iriafin and Rhea Marshall showed everyone how the seniors get it done by convincingly taking back the lead. Marshall reflected on the progression of the USC basketball season.
You ever heard the saying, started from the bottom, now we here? Literally, I mean, like Coach G was telling us, I remember my freshman year, we would come in, it would look, the games, like literally, it looked like a close scrimmage, I'm not joking. And to now, I mean, just really like a culture shift. The players we bring in, Coach G and her staff, they do a good job recruiting not just great players, but set the jersey aside and really good humans.
Marshall is clearly right about the culture shift in the last 4 years. The proof is in the pudding, as USC is 8-1 against ranked opponents. Some notable wins were against UCLA, UConn, and Ohio State. The lone ranked loss for the 4th-ranked Trojans came against number 3 Notre Dame. The women of Troy are looking to go 9-1 on Saturday when they take on crosstown rivals UCLA in their season finale.
USC baseball lost last night for the first time in this young 2025 season, having started it with 6 straight wins. The Trojans were in Texas to take on Rice for their first away series of the season and took the first game 7-4, but not without some drama fit for Hollywood. USC gave up leads in the 9th and 10th innings before rattling off 3 runs in the 11th to finally oust the Owls. In the 3rd game, after the middle was canceled due to rain, it was USC's turn to battle back for a tie in the top of the 9th. But then a walk-off home from Rice shattered the Trojans' winning streak. Well, despite the loss, the Trojans' bats are hot, led by sophomore Braden Dowd, junior Ethan Hedges, and graduate student Cade Higgins. The 3 have combined for 24 RBIs already this season, or 45% of the team's runs so far. The Trojan season continues tomorrow night at Cal State Fullerton.
Number 12 USC women's swimming and diving team placed 5th at the Big Ten Conference Championship and claimed 1 individual title on Saturday. Caitlin Dobler was cruising when she won first place on Saturday for the 100-yard breaststroke and tied for first and 200-yard breaststroke. She wasn't the only one on the podium. Mina Abram placed 2nd in the 100-yard freestyle. The men of Troy hope to make waves on Wednesday at the Big Ten Swimming and Diving Championships in Columbus, Ohio.
Major League Soccer made history on the opening weekend of the new season. LAFC beat Minnesota just across the street at BMO Stadium, but the magic happened in Carson, where the reigning champion LA Galaxy hosted San Diego FC for the expansion team's first ever match.
And we are underway on Sunday Night Soccer, the first ever match for San Diego FC, away at the reigning champs, the LA Galaxy.
The visitors broke the deadlock in the 52nd minute when Anders Dreyer capitalized on a defensive mistake to score the first goal in the history of San Diego Football Club. SDFC fulfilled its role as party pooper in the 3rd minute of added time when the Danish forward scored for a second time. Expectations remain high for the Galaxy, with both teams expected to remain among the league's best this season. They're pursuing their 7th championship while the LAFC will be pursuing their 2nd trophy. Now, the Galaxy, of course, reigning trophies, Mia. Do you think they can win it for a 2nd time?
Definitely not. I mean, if you're going to start off your season winning against a team that's never played a game before, I don't think hopes are high for the LA Galaxy repeating.
I'm inclined to agree there. I mean, both teams have won in the last 5 years, LAFC in 2022, and then the Galaxy, of course, one of the winningest franchise in the MLS. But I want to talk about San Diego FC. I mean, this is a likable team. You got Chucky Lozano, one of the more famous Mexican soccer players at the moment, just signing on to this new team with a great start. And I'm really excited to see if they can gain some momentum and gain some more fans. They might be gaining one in me. Sorry if that. Sorry to LA fans.
Definitely hopes are high for the season.
Well, how about that? A rare MLS shout out on ATVN Sports. But with that, it's all the time we have for In Sports today. I'm Ben Cohen.
And I'm Mia Nunez. Ari, I heard we have a special segment to debut after the break.
That's right, Mia. We're hitting the road with our own Jack Waterman, who will speak with students about USG.
You ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see?
Oh, Max, you broke it. No, don't do that. Bad boy.
Find out what we're made of. When we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3. I'll be there.
I believe most people are good and most mamas ought to qualify for sainthood. I believe most Friday nights look better under stadium lights. I believe you love who you love, ain't nothing you should ever be ashamed of. I believe this world ain't half as bad as it looks. I believe most people are good. I thank God for my life And for the stars and stripes, may freedom forever fly. Let it ring. Salute the ones who died, the ones that give their lives, so we don't have to sacrifice all the things we love.
Thank you, and welcome home.
Like our chicken fried.
You've probably heard Ray Charles's iconic song Hit the Road, Jack, and now ATVN will do the same with our own Jack Waterman. He's live outside the Ronald Tudor Campus Center, where he's hit the road for the first time this semester. Jack?
Thanks, Ari. That's right behind me is TCC, which is home to USC's undergraduate student government. Now, as of last night, elections for the upcoming year have closed for USG, so students have cast their ballots on who they would like to see running USG next year. But does that mean students know exactly what they were voting for? I sat down with one USG senator to hear more about what they actually do.
What do USG not do? I mean, they got, the FRIF program at USC. They got the LAX return shuttles. So they do a lot with their $2.5 million budget. That a lot of students don't even realize is USG. USG is actually doing a lot of things that students don't get to hear about because there's no effort being made to actually go to students.
Yeah, and it was great talking to that senator, but let's find out if students really do know what USG actually does. Let's hit the road. Come on. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see. Come on. Excuse me, y'all. I'm live with ATVN. Got some questions for you. Do y'all know what USC's undergraduate student government actually does? Take money from clubs?
Don't provide money or platforms to clubs to speak on it.
Yeah. Do you know how much money USG works with every year?
I know it's upwards of $200K, but I might be wrong about that.
$2.5 million. Did you know that?
I did know that, actually.
What would y'all do if you had $2.5 million to help USC?
Ask the students what they actually feel like would be most important. That way, we can stop uppricing things or taking monies from clubs who are actually trying to provide community or social impact to the area.
Ooh, that's a good answer. Anything?
Yeah, what he said.
Good answer. All right, thank y'all. All right, come on. Let's see. That was a pretty good answer. It's better than I could come up with. Hey, y'all, we're live with ATVN. Got a question for you. Do you know what USC's undergraduate student government actually does?
I think they distribute funding, but I don't know if they distribute very much of it to the things that are important to me.
Oh, what's important to you?
Funding Viterbi design teams.
Oh, I love it. So if you had their budget of $2.5 million, by the way, what would you do with that money?
It would all go to the Viterbi design team.
Just all of it?
Yes.
Automatically?
Yes.
No exception?
No.
Do you think students would be happy about that?
I think the Viterbi students would be happy about it.
I love that. Any thoughts from you? Do you agree?
I completely agree, yeah.
Okay, I guess we know what we're doing with our money. Thank y'all so much. Well, it sounds like students have some interesting thoughts on what they think USC's undergraduate student government does. Regardless of what you think they should be doing, we'll find out who is going to win USG's elections tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the upcoming Senate meeting. That's all from me. Back to y'all in the studio.
Thanks, Jack, and thank you all for watching Idelburg TV News. From everyone at Idelburg Media, I'm Ari Rose-Marquze.
And I'm Marina Knapik. For more coverage, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Good night.